So Brian McKnight is finally addressing all of the abandonment questions, the settlement with his daughter, just his odd behavior and erasing of his biological children, what it looks like for his new stepchildren, and all the criticism he's received online by, quote, internet trolls. Let's get into this 5-minute video that Brian McKnight posted not too long ago. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your #1 source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So we've been covering this story with Brian McKnight and his estranged children for the last couple of weeks. Before I even left New York City, we were talking about this story. And while I was here, Brian McKnight posted on his social media these old photos that were supposedly evidence that we were a blended family. We were getting along. This narrative that's out there is false. He even said this in the caption. Not sure how these posts that have been sitting here this whole time were left out of the false narrative that is trending. Abandonment, question mark? There's always more to every story. Stay tuned. So this was about less than a week ago. And now I'm sure he and his PR, his wife, have come together to write this video that he posted. But before we get to the video, in this post that he captioned, the false narrative, he posted these photos that were 390 weeks ago. And you guys did the math and reminded me that's 7.5 years ago. A long time ago. So there have been countless things. This all started because people noticed back in January that Brian McKnight had posted a photo of his new baby with his wife, Leilani, and named the baby Brian. But everyone was like, this is weird. This is suspicious. Don't you already have a son that's Brian McKnight Jr. and he has a son that's Brian McKnight III? What happened there? Which led people down a whole rabbit hole of their relationship. Brian McKnight Jr. posted back in, I think it was like 2019, about his father on social media. His sister, also Brianna McKnight, posted on social media about her estrangement from her father. She ended up suing him for defamation because Brian McKnight went on his social media at the time and talked about the situation with his children, and also talked about Brianna allegedly having some sort of physical relationship with her cousin. So all of this was addressed in a lawsuit, and they ended up settling this. So in this new video that Brian McKnight posted, he's addressing the lawsuit as well. So before we get into that, so he posted some clips on his social media, but I do want to give you a little preview of what I watched multiple times because it was only 5 minutes that he's talking. But he posted in his first video, he says, "To whom it may concern, no abandonment, no made-up story, no false statements, no defamation. Full video to follow on my YouTube channel." He posts the court case number on this caption. All right, so he addresses that. He also talks about the abandonment with the kids. All right, so at the top of this, I just want to talk about where he talks about this whole settlement situation. First of all, his demeanor is worth watching because the demeanor, his eyes, the lack of compassion, the lack of empathy for his biological children is quite telling. Because even if these kids were ungrateful, they were spoiled, there was the estrangement, whatever it may be, his lack of emotion is far more telling than those kids being spoiled brats that just wanted money from him, or it's far more telling. And the comment section on his YouTube channel, no one's falling for it. No one is dumb. I always say this about the audience. These celebrities, these media outlets want to make it seem as if the audience is dumb. And the audience is very intuitive. And they're like, something is not right here. And speaking about something that's not right here, he talks about this lawsuit that Brianna brought against him for those statements that he made on his social media about her. And in that lawsuit, she was accusing him of defaming her. And apparently, according to him, she was seeking $1 million, but she ended up getting a settlement of $318,000.
In 2020, my biological daughter, Brianna, sued me for defamation and breach of contract. I posted a page from the lawsuit here and the file number down below so you can look this up for yourself. And you will see that she did not ask for an apology or even ask that I remove the alleged false statement from the internet. All she asked for and all she wanted was money. The case was dismissed before there was any decision whether my statement about her was defamatory. We settled the case earlier this year, and I agreed to pay Brianna some money, but here's the interesting part. She sued me for defamation and breach of $1 million life insurance policy, and I agreed to pay her $318,000 with no admission of any wrongdoing whatsoever. You heard that right. She dismissed a $1 million case in exchange for payment of $318,000 with no admission that I did anything wrong and no requirement that I retract my statement or remove it from the internet. If someone said that I did something I didn't do and I won a case proving that I didn't, I demand a public apology. I demand an acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and I demand a retraction of statements. The face value of that life insurance policy was $300,000 with $18,000 worth of interest. I did not defame her. I made no false statements. I made up no stories. You can do what you will with that information in deciding who you think won the case.
Here's the thing that I noticed, and this is why I had to listen to it multiple times. I am not a lawyer, and all the lawyers, you will chime in. But he's making it seem as if he won the case when this was a settlement. You ended up paying her. But his justification to try and discount his daughter, Brianna, was the fact that she didn't demand a public apology. But instead, she decided to take the $318,000. She probably decided to take that because her attorney probably was like, this is what you're going to be able to get. I would take this because you're probably not going to get the $1 million. And the further we take this, we don't know the conversations that Brianna had with her attorney. But Brian, just because this was dismissed in court, it was dismissed because you guys reached a settlement outside of this. It wasn't dismissed because you were cleared. There is a difference. I'm not an attorney, but I do know that much. It was dismissed because the two parties reached a outside settlement. And you admit this in the same video. Like every time you think you're dropping receipts and proof, you're not really dropping anything at all. You're making yourself look more silly. You're making yourself look more toxic. So you agreed and admit that you paid your daughter $318,000 for this life insurance policy because she ended up suing him for defamation and for the $1 million life insurance that I guess she was owed as one of his kids. So he talks about that and he feels like he's cleared his name there. He says that at one point they were a perfectly blended family. Everyone was getting along. All the kids were referring to each other as siblings. But after the two posts that Brian McKnight Jr. posted and what Brianna posted on social media, he was done with them, basically. And the reason why he named his new son Brian was because, and mind you, he says after the post that his biological children posted on social media, he says, this is what he says.
I never abandoned anyone. Our estrangement was mutual, but those posts made any roads towards reconciliation and acknowledging them a dead issue. And I changed my will the next day. I've spent the last 30 plus years building a recognized, respectable name, and ironically, there are still people out there who are trying to smear my name while still carrying it, hoping to use it for their own benefit. I make absolutely no apologies for naming my infant son Brian. I want him and the world to know that he is the one who is my true legacy. So I'll be over here, continuing to love and protect my wife and our children as we continue to love our life.
I took them out the will. Okay. He said, I took him out the will. And the reason why I named my son Brian was because he is going to be my legacy. He will be your legacy until he does something that you don't like. Because this is a poor innocent baby right now, as they were innocent at one point. So, excuse me if I don't see 20 years from now, we're not talking about Brian McKnight talking about his son and he's erasing his son. from his will. He says, well, that will be my legacy. Okay. And look, I will say this, and I always say this when we talk about celebrities and things like that. I'm sure people are in his comments trolling him being nasty and trolling, his wife and trolling the children. I'm not agreeing to that. What I am talking about is what you're telling us and what you feel like is clearing your name. And I feel like the only reason Brian is addressing this is because it is going to affect his career, because there are people in the comment section saying, after finding out this story and after hearing other people talk about their experiences with Brian over the years, they're sort of like, wow, I'm brand new to know that Brian McKnight might not be who I thought he was, allegedly. So I think the reason why he's addressing this is because it's going to affect his check. It's going to affect his touring. It's going to affect people listening to his music. And I have to say, after watching this video multiple times and looking at the body language, we're body language experts. No, we're not. I'm just like, wow, you are a lot more diabolical and narcissistic than I ever thought. And if you go back and you listen to the interview that I did with him several years ago, even then I got the feeling I was like, something's off with you. And it's not like there's just something, I can't even put into words what it is. And you see it in this video. And apparently he has not changed. He hasn't grown. He hasn't evolved. There's something off. I'm not sure what it is. And you guys will go watch the video and you will come back and you'll let me know what you assess from the situation. And look, a lot of people like to throw around the world, oh, he's a narcissist. I mean, he could be all of that. But at the same time, I'm just sort of like, something's not right. And I'm not saying that these children, his biological children, aren't spoiled brats. They weren't, anything like other, celebrity kids or regular kids. But to write them off, to erase them from your social media, to dog them out the way that you did on social media, it says a lot. And I've said this before in my previous coverage of the story, Lenani, you need to pay attention. And I hope you are paying attention, because who is to say that your children or your new child with him won't do something that he feels that deems, oh, I'm going to erase them from my life. They are out of the will. And look, at the end of the day, it's his money. It's his legacy. He can do whatever he wants. It's a free country. But it's also a free country for us to be like, something's not right with that. And at the end of the day, I can choose whether or not I want to support someone like that. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts on the latest update. Hopefully this will be the final update, but I have a feeling like the kids might speak out next. Unless in her settlement, she wasn't allowed to talk about it. But he's talking about it. But maybe he can't talk about it because he's the one who paid her the money. Who knows? Guys, let's continue this conversation in the comment section. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll ask you, follow me, lead it.